All right, YouTube, Repoman 64. I was doing a live. Things are going fine. I think we were on there for about an hour and a half, and the power went out, and I lost internet. So it killed the live. This right here is not live. So if the power does that again, then I'll be all right. Let me turn down that brightness, making my head shiny. Um, this isn't live, so it's still going to keep recording and then I can upload when the power comes back on. We've been having quite a few thunderstorms here in Florida. David lives down in Midwest Florida, and I live in Northeast Florida. So he's been getting hit with a lot larger storms than I have, but yesterday and today have been something else. So there's nothing I could do. The live went down, and I ran out and got myself a gyro or an gyros, and that was lunch or dinner. Dinner. I skipped lunch, and so coming back on here, I want to touch back on over some of the things that we talked about. Of course, most people kind of direct the conversation towards timelines, which works for me because that's kind of where I stay. Try to stay in my own lane on timelines and discuss that. So I'm going to go in and share. I'm not going to say I'm going to make a short video because every time I say that, I'm like, I go over anyway. So, all right. Why didn't that work? Why do I have a blank screen? Um, oh, there we go. All right. So, like I was talking about in the live, currently this is July 26th, 7:26. At this point, we have not seen the rapture yet, but we are still watching tomorrow, and it's already July 27th, and most of the planet. So uh, we'll be watching from there forward. And the next event that I have doesn't mean the rapture can't happen before that or after that. Like I said a million times, I don't know the date of the rapture, but I do know when things happened. And to be of is the 15th. To be simply means 15. There is a to be in every month. But in Av is the one we're discussing. To be is July 30th. They have an association with this with a wedding, so it's very interesting. Although the wedding doesn't actually take place until the end of 7 years. We are taken to a banquet and we see the mansions and get the rod of iron and kind of locked away until the tribulation saints show up, which we see in Seal 6. Excuse me. That gyro is going to make me hiccup. I know it is, or burp or whatever. Sorry. Sorry for being human. July 30th, Yubiov, and then we're going to go to July 31st. This is the date that Noah sent out the dove, and it returns with the olive branch. We've already passed the Feast of New Wine, and like I said, I don't change calendars when a date passes. It's over. It's gone. As much as we wanted the rapture to occur on the Feast of New Wine, it's done. It's over. If you move the Feast of New Wine from Av the third to Elul the third, you'll be right over here on August 17th, which means you'll have to move everything. Creation didn't begin on September 11th. On Elul 28, it would begin on Tishri 28, which is all the way down here on October the 12th. And then the flood wouldn't have happened on Heshwan 17. October 31st, the flood would have happened on November the 30th. So you just can't. You can build a timeline out of a single event and claim that you're accurate, but you will never be able to add that. You'll see the people that do that will waffle back and forth. They'll say, "Oh, this is the day Jesus was baptized," and then 2 days later, oh, the calendars are off by a month, so we got to go forward. And they take a segment of time and justify that week, but that week can never fit into the 52-week calendar because they'd have to move everything, and you just can't. It's a stationary calendar. It's static. It doesn't budge. So I digress. That's what we're looking at. The dove returns to the olive branch. And then 1 week later, the dove is sent out on Av 22, August the 6th, and does not return. And then we have 8, 9, 10 days later, after that event, 10 days later, we have Jesus is baptized, and that's the start of the 40-day fast. Um, I keep hearing people say Jesus was baptized on atonement. He just wasn't. He was baptized 40 days earlier. The Bible's pretty clear about that. Elul 1 and Tishri 10 is when Jesus began his ministry, when he was about 30 years old, and that actually lands September 24th, September 29th. At sunset, that actually lands 5 days before his birthday. And then, of course, 3 days, 1, 2, 3, on a Tuesday, Jesus turns water to wine. This is a wedding. Weddings are, I've heard, predominantly on Tuesdays. And so somebody sent me a comment saying, it's really strange how your timeline actually puts it on Tuesday. And so, well, of course it would, because the timeline's static. September the 27th is always a Tuesday. And if you're trying to match up the Gregorian calendar, just look at next year. Look at every single year and see if the day of the week lands the same next year or the year after or the year. It just won't. It moves by a day, and in a leap year, it moves by two. So it just the Gregorian calendar, that's its flaw, is the day of the week. Never stays consistent, never stays constant. It moves. So the next event we're looking to is Tu B'Av, then the dove returns to the olive branch, and then the dove doesn't return. All of these three right here are high rapture watch days. Could it happen before? Yeah. Could it happen after? Yeah, it could. But my cutoff point is over here. I think this is when I think the seals all need to be opened by the Feast of Trumpets. The Feast of Trumpets is on Tishri 1, September the 15th. It is a Thursday. It's a Thursday. Rosh Hashanah is a Thursday. If it's not a Thursday, if I've mistaken that somehow, if it's not a Thursday, Nisan 1, March 17th, then Jesus did not go to the cross on a Wednesday. If Jesus did not go to the cross on a Wednesday, then he did not rise on a Sunday, because he rises at 3 a.m., which is 84 hours after, says right there, 84 hours after the cross. So let me keep going forward, not dwelling on that too long, but I keep repeating this because we keep having so many more new subscribers coming in, and they have questions that people asked me years ago that I've answered, but I have to be cognizant of the fact that there are new people coming in. My calendar, my timeline never changes. When a date passes, it's gone. It happened. The rapture didn't occur. The Feast of New Wine will not be drug out for the next month, like you'll see on other timelines. I will not change, bend, nor waver on the fact that the Feast of New Wine is on the 3rd of Av, July 18th. And the date Jesus is baptized is 40 days before he began his ministry on atonement, which is why I think that the rapture must occur at some point before August the 15th. And all 6 seals we opened up before here, because this is when I think the 7th seal is open, revealing the 7 trumpets on the Feast of Trumpets. So what does that equate to? 6th seal, 7th seal. By the 6th seal, the tribulation saints are in heaven. So I believe that it would have to happen by here, and we would have to be out of here. We're in a Jubilee year. I've worked it out mathematically. This is the Jubilee year. You are currently in the year 2025. This is not 2026. This is the year 2025. And it will end on December the 31st because it's a Gregorian count. And so they've miscounted because of that 0 year. And so here we have the Feast of Trumpets, and that's where I think Trumpets is going to be open. And I think the tribulation is going to last 7 full years, and it's going to end on the Day of Atonement on September the 24th. So at some point, my highest rapture watch days are here, or perhaps even 5 days later when I think Enoch rose. Enoch had a 364-day calendar, but God alludes to the solar calendar of 365 days because Enoch lived 365 years before he ascended. But then again, I say, well, if God's going to go from the Enochian 364 days sidereal calendar and begins to or says that Enoch rose when he was 365, which is a solar calendar, why do we say it's exactly 365 from when he was born? He was born on Sivan 6, May 21st. Why do we say when he was 365 he ascended? So I have a question mark here. I know he was born here. I don't know when he ascended. Why wouldn't God continue to adhere if he goes this far, say 365? Why wouldn't it be 365.2422 days? And that brings us down to here, 365 and a quarter years, 365 and 3 months. That's where Enoch would have risen on Elul 6, August the 20th, which is 5 days after Jesus is baptized. So we have a lot of high watch days in here. I'll really start sweating when we get down here to the first day of creation. Then I'm going to be like baffled. But I will never stop trying to figure out. It's not easy to figure out when the rapture might occur. The timeline here took just forever to build, but it's built, and I stick to it. And I can't prove that the rapture will occur on any one of these days, but it doesn't hurt to look to the next high watch day and you know hope and pray that it happens before or that day or after. But we keep hoping for that, the blessed hope. That's what we keep watching for, right? All right. August 25th in 2025, which was actually 2024, but August 25th is when they actually blew the shofar on the temple. They were supposed to do it in 2025 on September the 25th or the 24th of September, but they did it a month early. So if we take that into account, what did I do? Let's see here. If we take that into account and we go 30 days earlier, because this is where they were supposed to blow it, be 162. 162 lands where? Let's see. Where'd you go? Over here on Elul 611, 611, August the 25th. That's when they blew it. So why did they blow it 30 days early? I'm just curious. That's another high watch day. I don't have anything on the timeline that matches up to it, except that it's another 5 days after I think Enoch rises and 10 days after Jesus is baptized. So it's just very interesting that they blew it 30 days early. I don't know why they just didn't do it on September the 24th when they were supposed to herald in the Jubilee, which began on March 17th of 2026. I don't know why they did that. I showed you that. That was I said refraction, and Brett got on to me. He's like, that's not refraction, that's reflection. Okay, Brett, this is a reflection of two windows that come at an angle. And if you look at one, you see that. But if you look at the other, you don't see that. And I took a picture because it just looks like a tree in the clouds. It was so cool. I went back there to eat again with my wife, and it didn't appear. It has to, I guess it has to be a certain time of day, and the sun has to be just right for that to happen. I thought that was so cool. All right, what did I do here? I've got a few pictures from the last video that I didn't take out. Say about him 1,000 years. That's the part in my live where I was like, there's that extra 7 years. I don't know if Satan's bound for 1,007 years or what happens, but Jesus is going to rule and reign for a complete 1,000 years, and then Satan will be loose for a little season, and that actually mathematically turns out to be 14 years. And we went through this because we were looking at the dead rising. After once foundation of the world. Okay, that's the appointed unto man, but wants to die. But when you read through it, what it's telling you, if you just read between the lines, read through it. For Christ has not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us, nor yet that he should offer himself often. Jesus died once, one time, as the high priest entereth into the holy place every year with blood of others. He's comparing himself. While they're doing sacrifices every year from the blood of animals, he presented himself one time, died one time for the sins of the world. He doesn't do this over and over again. For then must he often have suffered since the foundations of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. He's comparing himself to the animal sacrifices, which must be done every year. But when he came, he's clarifying it was done once, and that is it. And who's he talking about? And as it is appointed unto men, but once to die, but after this, the judgment. Jesus died one time for our sins and not multiple times. Everybody uses this verse to tell me, no, the dead aren't rising. They had their chance, except the people that didn't die. And then the rapture happens and they get this visual that nobody else got in the last 2,000 years, and they get the chance to kneel down and accept Christ. But all those dead people who were tribulation saints that just didn't trust in the blood alone, they're just going to go to the lake of fire. Now, they're going to see Christ in the clouds, just like all the tribulation saints will, because they're going to rise. I don't think the wicked will rise, because it says, let the wicked continue to do wickedly. These people have misunderstood salvation. They are walking around under their own auspices, under their own works, and they do not understand salvation and trust in the blood and the blood alone. They will argue with you all day long that you must continue this and do that, and once saved, always saved is wrong, because and they'll throw some silly thing out there like, well, these people think you just say some words and you can go sin all you want. Nobody who's actually saved ever said that. Nobody. Paul even said, I can do what I want. There is nothing to stop me, except that the Holy Spirit lives in me and I don't want to. That which I do not want to do, that I do. That which I want to do, that I do not do. He is struggling just like the rest of us, saved, but struggling just like the rest of us. You know when you've done wrong. If you're saved and you have the Holy Spirit inside of you, you know when you've done wrong. All you have to do is recognize who Jesus is. That's all. You don't have to go back and get resaved every single time. Clearly says he died one time, is appointed unto men, but once to die. Jesus died one time for our sins, and we die one time to Jesus. And that's it. We don't have to continue to re-die and put Jesus back on the cross, strike that rock twice. We don't have to keep doing that. Now, Exodus 17. Why do I have this one? Go on before the people and take with thee the elders of Israel. Notice that it uses the word elders here in Exodus 17. And thy rod, which the elders get a rod, wherewith thou smotest the river, take in thy hand and go, behold, I will stand before thee upon the rock of Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock. God is telling them to accept what Jesus did on the cross. The word elders is used here. This is speaking to the bride. And thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come out of it water out of it, and the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. Done. It's a done deal. He struck the rock once. The waters came out, which is the cup of salvation, and they may drink. Might not all drink, but they may drink. And then we go over here. Take the rod. Now, the elders have the rod. We will rule the nations with a rod of iron. And gather thou the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water. Speak. You see what it says there? Speak. Doesn't tell him to strike that rock again. Somebody made a note or a comment to me and says, hey, you said that he was supposed to strike the rock twice the second time, or once the second time, and they were correct and went back and restudied it. And they were only supposed to, Moses was only supposed to speak to the rock. He was never supposed to strike that rock one more time or even two more times. And what is this representing? This is a tribulation saint who thinks you have to keep working. You must stop eating pork, smoking cigarettes. You must go to church, tithe money. You've got to do all of these things and to prove and to maintain your salvation. And they'll spin it around and word it differently in that they'll say, do you really think if you can just say some words and go out and sin after that? And I say, do you really think if I say some words and don't go out and sin that I'm saved? They cannot take their minds out of a works-based gospel. Their minds stay stuck in a works-based gospel. They'll spin it around every way they can, but they can't get away from the fact that they have to do something. They have not trusted in Jesus alone. And that is where they falter, which is why they will be left behind until seal 6. And it is debatable, in my opinion. It's very quick before September the 15th, where all 6 seals are opened. In my opinion, this right here represents exactly why a tribulation saint cannot be under the wrath of God, because they are saved as well. We say the bride's not going to show up in heaven with a black eye. Now, I don't think the tribulation saints are going to show up in heaven. They're going to show up in heaven dead, and they're going to go through it. But it won't be because it's under the wrath of God. It'll be because of those seals that are opening. The wrath of man, if you want to call it. But the wrath of God begins with trumpets. So I believe that the rapture is going to happen, and then the 6 seals are going to be opened relatively quick, and the great multitude will appear in heaven, and that will represent everybody that's going to heaven. That's it. Nobody else is going. No one else is going except for the 2 witnesses. Those are the last 2 people that are brought into heaven, and after they die, that's it. After that, the 144,000 meet Jesus at Mount Sinai, where he puts his foot down in 2033. The Jews leave Israel in 2030 on Passover, sometime between Passover and before Israel changes another year older on May 15th, May 14th. May 15th is actually May 15th, but they will flee to Petra, not going to heaven. They're not going to heaven. The people who are left that are ordered not to receive the mark, not going to heaven. They're going into the millennium. I think by the time we get to seal 6 and all the tribulation saints are gone, there isn't much left that isn't wicked. But, there might be a few. They will surprise you. They won't take the mark. They will become believers after the mid-trib. But it's such a small remnant. The Bible talks about them go out. They're maimed. They're lame. They're hungry. They're thirsty. They're beat up pretty bad, but go get them because we're going to bring them into the wedding. So give forth this water, thou shalt bring forth it. And Moses took the rod from the Lord. I'm sorry, from the Lord. And Moses took the rod from before the Lord as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. And he said unto them, hear now, ye rebels. He's fed up with these people. They won't listen. Must we fetch you water out of this rock? And Moses lifted up his hand. Now, he didn't speak to the rock, did he? And with his rod, he smote the rock twice. Moses was not allowed to go into the promised land alive. As a matter of fact, Moses, I believe the first time he's actually going to enter the promised land, he's dead. His body is buried. Is it Hebron? I don't recall where his body is buried, but it's buried by the Lord. He never made it into the promised land. His first trip into the promised land will be all these years later when he rises on the day of the rapture from the grave, and his body, for some reason, see that God, every single detail in the Bible is abundantly important. And this is why it says that Moses saw no weakness. He was full strength up until he died. Because when Moses comes back from the grave, he will be in his full strength. He died because the Lord took him and killed him, and he died. He didn't die of old age. He didn't die in a war. He just died. And when he comes back, he's going to be at full strength, just like the Bible records how he was on the day he died. And his bones were hidden from everyone, but he's not in the promised land yet. As soon as he rises, he's going into the promised land. And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice. This is a tribulation saint. They will not rest in the blood alone. They are scared. They don't know how to do it. They're hedging their bet. They're working so hard. They're trying to prove to each other and to God that they are worthy to make it to heaven. None of us are worthy. None of us stack up. The only way any of us are getting there is by the blood of Christ alone and by his sacrifice. We struck the rock once like we were commanded. I wouldn't say allowed, we have accepted what the smitten rock had done for us. But the tribulation saints, Moses is a tribulation saint, a picture of. He's not a tribulation saint, but he's a picture of. And he struck the rock twice. Because of their disbelief, he became upset. You have to you have to keep going back to Jesus again and again. Should have just spoke. That's what we did. This is what they do. They hit the rock over and over again. They come back. I have sinned. I need to go back walk up in front of the church and reaccept Jesus over again. I've got to do this. They're looking at themselves. And when you look at yourself, you'll fail every single time. You are not ever going to be good enough, ever. I hope I made that clear. It's so hard to negotiate. I did this. I changed this. The end is here. That was going to be my last picture, but then I got to studying some other topics and I got some more stuff. Now, you've all heard about this. Everything for the Antichrist is set up. It's all ready to go. These are the 7 Noahide laws that they are bringing into existence here in Israel. And you saw that the United States and Israel just combined their forces. In other words, Israel can now order our forces to go do this and to go do that. And we can order Israeli forces to go do this and to go do that. They have joined. And I would imagine the patch that they wear now will have both the United States flag and the Israeli flag on the soldiers. So why is this happening? That just shows how close we are. The rapture is literally days away. That just shows that we're almost home. Now, I got this I wanted to show this, gpront.blog. You can go read this. And I want you to notice, I just Googled this to see if anybody else on planet Earth knows that Jesus went to the cross on March 30th. And so, and in what year? And they don't say the date. They've left that out. But at least one thing they have is correct. Tishri 15 is the Day of Atonement. That is when Jesus was born. That's September 30th. The 2 calendars will always be 75 days off, or one will be 15, and then September will be the 30th. That makes sense. September's the 9th month, Tishri's the 7th month, so they'll always be 75 days apart. It says 4 BC, and yeah, with the 0 year, when you count it, it's 4 BC. That would be accurate, but it's 3 BC because of the 0 year, which people have a hard time grasping. I'm not quite sure why. On Elul 1 in 26 AD was Jesus' baptism. That is a fact. It's August the 15th. I wonder if I should have wrote August the 15th on here. He was about 30 years old. In fact, it was 5 days before his birthday, which if you go 40 days after this event, his birthday. Well, that would be September the 24th. 5 days later would be his birthday. So 45 days after this event is Jesus' birthday. Crucifixion. It was about 33 years and 6 months. It wasn't about, it was to the very day. 33 years and 182 days or 6 months exactly to the day. Nisan 14 in 30 AD. So I'm not the only one that somehow mathematically figured this out. There are others that have figured this out, and that's awesome. And this is the website here, gpront blog dating 3 key events in Jesus' life, and they nailed it. They got it absolutely correct, 100%. They got it correct, except for the 0 year, but that's still close enough. Birth, baptism, crucifixion, perfect. All right, what do we have here? This is from Matt. He posted this. Yep, Wackadoodle Samoans still out there. He posted this. Israel's foreign ministry established a working group led by its special envoy to the Christian world to prepare for the 2000th anniversary of Jesus' baptism, expecting millions of pilgrims worldwide. The problem is, you guys are about 4 years too late at this point. Jesus was baptized by August the 15th, exactly 2,000 years ago. Jesus 3.5 years from now, we'll go to the cross. And then that will begin, the 3.5 years, of course, count will begin on his birthday on September the 30th. And then 45 days prior to that, on August the 15th, they didn't even give a day or a month. I don't know when, but they're just dead wrong. 2030, yeah, it's 2026. They're 4 years off. So you can see the devil working overtime on changing all the calendars and everything, and everybody absolutely confused on when things happen. Jesus did not go to the cross in 33 AD. It's just not mathematical. I'm shocked, actually, that people have accepted the Catholics' way of counting, because they have counted everything wrong. He went to the cross in 30 AD. That's exactly when it happened. Have you guys, if anything else, how impressed are you that for 2,000 years there has not been a red heifer, and now they're just dropping them out everywhere? They're just being born every single day. A second red heifer is born in the Golan Heights. God is pressing us to accelerate the path towards building the temple. And the second red heifer is born in Israel. So you find it, don't you find that crazy that they had to fly for $500,000? They had to fly those red heifers in from Texas. And then now all of a sudden, they're just, red heifers are being born all over the place. So that's God, of course. God could only produce a perfectly pure red heifer for them and getting them prepared. And I think they already sacrificed the first red heifer, to be honest, but I think they're going to do it again live to where everyone sees it. And then in 3.5, and Satan's going to push for it. He's going to push for it. Now, I mentioned in the live this YouTube called Jorka. I'll show his YouTube to you here in a moment. But Jesus, and I have worked so many years on trying to understand the 1,260. And then if you add the Cassays back in, 1,274, which actually does work. If you go to any year and put in September the 24th, atonement, and you count backwards 1,274 days, you'll always land on the cross on March 30th. It's crazy. But it doesn't match. Anytime I've ever tried to make it, like, put it into a timeline, like if it was August 15th when Jesus baptized, or trumpets, or atonement, or when I count the 1,260 days, it never comes out. It never does. And so this guy sent me something I thought was pretty phenomenal. I'm looking forward to his next video explaining it much clearer, so a guy like me could understand. Baptism, August the 15th. If you count the 30 days, remember you have 1,260 days, 1,290 days, and 1,335 days, which is 45 more days to the Feast of Trumpets, 30 days. That's exactly from the baptism to trumpets. It's 30 days. From Jesus' baptism to when he started his ministry on atonement, it's September the 24th, and that's 10 days later, 40 days. Now, people keep saying, well, I just had Oh, people keep saying that Jesus was born on trumpets. There's no event 8 days later. There's nothing. Biblically, there is no event 8 days later. He's named and circumcised 8 days later. There must be a biblical event for that day. Those are the 10 days of awe between trumpets and atonement. There is no way Jesus was born on trumpets. Not possible. There's no event 8 days later. There is an event 10 days later. It's called atonement. But if Jesus was born on tabernacles, there is an event 8 days later. It's called Shemini Atzeret. That's the day Jesus was named and circumcised. He was born on tabernacles. He came to tabernacle with us. If you say he was born on um, Passover, there's no event. There's nothing to count it to. People are using spring because of that's the lambing season. They're wrong. Nothing happens. All right. Here, August 15th from the baptism, 40 days. That is atonement. That's the Revelation 12 sign. That's the day Jesus began his ministry. That's why the Revelation 12 sign happened on that day. And we're coming up on the 9th anniversary of that happening. What does the number 9 mean? I don't know. I'm asking because I've heard it means something, but I don't do that type of stuff. So I think it means completion, right? Judgment. I don't recall what it means. From the baptism, October the 15th, if you go 45 days, that's Jesus' birthday. It's tabernacles. The night fall of September the 29th becoming September the 30th. On October the 7th, the date that Israel was attacked, Shemini Atzeret. That's the date that Jesus was named circumcised. It doesn't bounce around every year because of the moon. That's the date. It's solid, doesn't budge any more than your birthday does. Your birthday's on a date. You don't change it every year because of the moon. And I would expect nothing less for the birth of our Lord and Savior than it to be changed every year. Well, this year Tabernacles falls on September. I don't even know what it is. What is it? Because it should be September. If they say it's the 11th, 15th, September 27th, I think. How would you like it if I told you your birthday moved around every year? His birthday's here, right there, just like it says. That's it. That's when it happened. So I was having this conversation. I sent this in an email to Jorka. I think it's an acronym for his name, George, and whatever his last name is, but I think that he uses that as his YouTube channel. These fit, and this has been my problem for years. I've never been able to get these to fit. And I'm talking with these guys that were in the chat group, David and Brett and Matt and DJ, and I'm like, these fit, but I can't get the 1,260 or the 1,274, which is the 14 cassettes that happen every 3.5 years, or the 1,290 or the 1335. I'm beginning to think each one has a different starting date. And I've been working on this for years. I can't get them to fit. They don't fit. I know it's because I'm not using the right starting date and ending date. I know that. I just don't know where they fit yet. It took me eons to figure out that Jacob's trouble had nothing to do with Daniel's 70th week. It's not the same period of time. Jacob's trouble already began. It began on October the 7th of 2023. That's when it began. Jacob's trouble was 20 years long. And it's going to end, except for these days be shortened, no flesh would be saved. It's shortened to 10 years. It's cut in half. Instead of 20, like Jacob went through before he had to go back and see his brother that he was in trouble with, shortened to 10 years. Starts in October of 2023 and ends in September of 2033. 10 years, shortened, it's cut in half. So I'm still trying to figure this out. And lo and behold, this guy sends me an email and kind of blows my mind. I'm still waiting for a response for me to understand exactly what he was talking about, but he's very mathematical. He does really good work on his YouTube channel. That's his YouTube channel. I think his name's George something. This is an abbreviation of both his first, Jorka. But that's he's working on stuff. July 26, 27. You should watch today until July, and I don't have anything on the 26th or 27th, but I still enjoy watching what other people do with math and stuff. He sends me an email and says, there's a pattern of 33 days that I'm seeing. And then he proceeded to send it to me, which went right over my head. And I asked him to clarify or explain it a little bit in detail. But the gist of what I got from his is the 1,260 days is plus 33. And I'm like, that's great. Mine would be plus 14 for the Cassays. Where are you getting 33? But he found a pattern, which is pretty cool. And I'm hoping he makes a video explaining that pattern in layman's terms so even I can understand. But 1,293 days, that's 1,260 plus 33, lands perfectly, which shocked me when he did it. 1,293 days. It goes from, it's actually September the 14th at nightfall. That's why this is March the 30th and not March the 31st. You would begin counting at sunset on the September the 14th. So trumpets to the first day technically of unleavened bread. That's what March 30th first is, the first day of unleavened bread. It is March 30th, which is the cross. That's the day Jesus went to the cross. And if you count his 1,293 days, 1,260 plus 33, that's exactly where you're at. It's the first time. I mean, I knew that 1,293 before because I've done the math and I'm like, what the world does 1,293 have to do with anything? It doesn't match the 1,260. It doesn't match the 1,290. Sure, it's off by 3 days, but it still doesn't match. It should land perfectly. Or the 1335. So he sends me this. Yeah, you're going to have to really explain. But the one thing that jumps out at me is this right here. Now, I'm assuming he's not from the United States because the way they date stuff, they do day, month, and year. We do month, day, which quite frankly is wrong. It would be more accurate to do the smaller, middle, and larger numbers. This would be more accurate. But when we see it, we're like, what? But September the 29th, now that just happens to be Jesus's birthday at sunset. Spinebreaker just happens to be looking at September the 28th because something aligns in Stellarium. So it's very interesting. This is actually at sunset when Jesus was born on September 30th. But he does this 33-day count that I can't quite wrap my mind around. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he's doing here. I just noticed the highlighted numbers. Now look at this. When you come down here, he keeps going on with this. You come down here. Oops. Hold on. This one. Oops. And this one. Let me zoom in. He sent all this to me, but I can't help but notice 2030. Oh, it got cut off. At any rate, it always ends up when he does his count, it ends up on the same date of 9/29, Jesus' birthday tabernacles. It's amazing that happens. So I hope he comes out with a video and can articulate a little bit better those 33 days, because that would be the first time I've ever seen an actual 1,260 day count work. I can count again from atonement backwards in a year, go backwards 1,274, the 1,260 plus the 14 days, or the Cassays, the 4 hidden days per year, 3.5 years, 14. If I count back 1,274 from atonement, it will always land on the cross on March 30th. But that's the furthest I could get. I couldn't get actual understanding of the 3 different numbers that are found. Passover. Sometimes, and I should have done this in black, I can't even see it. So we all know Passover, March 30th. But unleavened bread began on March 31st and ran through April the 6th. And they always put it like this. They always put it on here like this, as 1, 2, and 3. But it's actually not. It's actually 1, and then unleavened bread goes from here to here, because it's from March 31st to April the 6th, and then right smack in the middle, 84 hours, right in the center of 7 days, 3.5 days, 84 hours, right smack in the middle of unleavened bread is first fruits. So technically, you should say unleavened bread, first fruits, because first fruits happens right in the center of unleavened bread. But they're using it as the menorah, so you kind of kind of understand. Then Pentecost, the one that finally came, is July 17th. And then here we go with trumpets, which happens on September the 15th. Atonement, September the 24th, 10 days later. 10 days about Jesus couldn't have been born on trumpets because there's nothing that happens 8 days later. He had 8 days to that. If you count the 15th, it would be September the 22nd. There's no event on September the 22nd. If you count inclusive the 15th through the 24th, that's 10 days. That's the Day of Atonement. And that's the day Jesus began his ministry. And then, of course, Jesus was born here 5 days later on September the 30th. So we have, and then if you go to October, and that, if you think about it, he was born here. If you put another one over here, October the 7th, Shemini Atzeret, put that there, October the 7th. So it's really, really cool that that all lines. Am I done already? I am done. All right. So I had to the live just quit. It just quit on me because lost internet, lost power, lost everything. And so I said I'd make a video, and here it is. There's your video. All right, YouTube. Go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody. And accept the Lord into your heart. And that is not just some random words that you say, it's heartfelt. I mean, you know you're a sinner. You know you messed up, and you know your rightful place is hell. And if you want a way out of that, there's only one way. And Jesus says it very clearly. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody gets to the Father but by me. And so that's what you believe in. That's what you believe on. And that's where you rest your faith on that and knowing. And once you have, that's it. You're saved. There's nothing you can add to it. So, all right, YouTube, Repoman 64. We will chat. We go again later.